Morning, how you doing? So one of the regular things that I end up doing is doing runs to water points. The water tanks on Lola are they're not massive, and it's not like we can hook up to mains water. I mean, we could try canal water, and one of the things I want to do look into is filtered canal water for our washing up, etc. There's systems on the market at the moment that can quite happily filter canal water into drinking water, and I'd like to explore that for our washing up water. I'm not sure environmental health, without lots of testing and constant testing and ongoing testing, will like it for drinking water, but one of the things we can look at is for washing up water and cleaning water. So we're opening in Bourneville this weekend. It's the first time we've been to Bourneville this season, and the water point's probably about a half an hour drive, cruise just down the canal. It's a nice little drive down to Kings Norton. Quick turn around there, which is nice and easy with Lola because you can turn around pretty much anywhere, and then straight back once we've filled it with water. Filling up with water takes probably about 15 minutes once we get there, but yeah, it's just one of those things. So the other thing that we've got happening this weekend, not only are we opening Bourneville for the first time this season, we've also got a visitor coming, and that visitor is finally, if they turn up this time, from Environmental Health, coming to do our food hygiene rating. We've been waiting now for almost 2 years for an inspection, to the point that this winter I re-registered us just so it refreshed their memories that we were actually in the system and wanted an inspection. So yeah, the first time we registered was back in July 24. And then for those of you who've been following our journey, will know that we were out of the water getting some major repairs done over the winter in 2024. So we had a phone call then, and I explained to the inspector that we're off the water at the moment and that we'd be back on the water in May and to go from there. And they agreed to, they get back in touch with us, seasonal business, once we reopened. It's not happened though. I've sent emails because I wanted to keep a chain of communication and keep a record of it, to say that I was doing it. We've had a waiting inspection sign on the boat for a while, and then last week I was due an inspection. The inspector never turned up. No confirmation that he wasn't turning up. No, just rebooked it for this Friday, and his colleagues coming down. Perhaps he was scared of water or boats, or obviously just perhaps just got other things on and couldn't manage it, and was having a day off tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's one of those marks that you know you're doing all right, but also I'd like to get some information from them. What can we do better? What needs to be better? Even though we've not been assessed, we've been keeping high standards of cleanliness and food safety. But is there something that we're overlooking? Is there something that we can do better? Is there something we can do to make our lives easier? And also get some information about some upcoming projects that I want to be working on as well. And I've got a good idea about those, but I just need some technical information from them and what they'd expect to see. So that's quite exciting. I'm quite looking forward to meeting the assessor to see what they say. I've done a bit of cleaning today, just cleaning beyond the fridges, cleaning beyond the freezers, but really just a general clean round. The boat's pretty much clean anyway, and it's going to get dirty later when I make tomorrow's dough anyway, so we'll see. But anyway, enough of me chuntering on. we're going to carry on with this journey. So for us, we've got 200 litre water tanks underneath the front deck here, and it's just a simple hose pipe into the water tanks, and then all the way across the canal network are these water points for use for boaters. So we just find the nearest one and fill up. $200 litres will last us about 3 days trading, depending how messy we get and how many coffees we do, how much washing up we have to do. What I tend to do is work on a basis of 2 days, and then that gives us plenty. So now that the water's full, we're on our way back. Just ran out of petrol on the way back, crashed into a tree, and had to refuel using the spare fuel I've got on board. Luckily, I'm always a good Boy Scout and prepared for such eventualities. One innocent bystander was horrified when I crashed into the trees, though, because it clattered on the chairs that we keep on the front, and it sounded much worse than it actually was. But yeah, problems avoided, and we're back on our way now. Our regular supply of electricity comes from the solar panels on the roof. We've got 2 solar panels, each at 345 watts each, which gives us 690 watts of power maximum. We only have reached kind of 500 because of inconsistencies in shading, power loss, etc. And also the fact that the panels are never clean, being on dusty towpath and probably under trees means that we get all sorts of debris on there as well. Keeping them clean is an absolute nightmare. So the solar power comes into the white box there, which is the circuit breaker, and that flows into the blue Victron solar charge controller, which converts it to 12 volts, and then this comes down into various breakers, fuse boards, switches, and then down into the inverter down in the bottom there. Which all makes it usable electricity from solar. And also it's this box here which allows us to change over between shore power and internally generated power, so like the solar power or the generator as well. So this is the generator that we use. It's a fairly bog standard 3.5 kilowatt petrol generator. On the front here we've got the 2 outlets, we've got various other different outlets as well, USB and cigarette lighter as well, and that has proven to be quite a reliable generator for us. So that's one of the other methods. So the other way that we can get power into the boat is through a hookup. So if we're somewhere where we're moored for a while and there's not much sun, we can hook up into the mains electricity there, whether that's through a standard 3-pin plug or through a proper hookup. We can connect it into here, and then that itself feeds into the boat's electrical system as well, meaning that we've got full power to charge the batteries and to run any higher power appliances. So that's 3 ways altogether that we've got. We've got solar, we've got the generator, and then we've got the hookup as well. So it's only useful having generator power and solar power if you can store it somehow. And to store that, we have just under 1,000 amp hours of 12-volt batteries hidden under our back deck, which used to be the engine bay when we used to have an inboard engine in the boat. And that allows us to store that energy for when we need it. So we may not be serving that day, it might be a nice sunny day, but that will charge the batteries up. And we're quite lucky in the fact that a lot of the stuff that we do, we tend to be able to just work off the solar anyway. There's a few higher power devices like the food mixer that we just top up the batteries with the generator when we're using those. You can run it quite happily. So it's all very well generating the power through the generator, the solar power, or the shoreline hookup, but how do we store that energy for when we need it? And that's where the batteries in the engine bay, formerly known as the engine bay when it had an engine, come in handy. We've got just under 1,000 amp hours of battery power stored in 12-volt that we use to store that power. They're lead acid batteries, so although it's 1,000 amp hours, we can only use down to 60% of that. So we've only got 400 amp hours of usable battery power in there really, to keep the batteries nice and healthy. But we quite happily stay within that, and we will be looking to upgrade to lithium in the future. Not lithium as you'd find it in scooters, etc. It's lithium phosphate batteries, which are much safer in a boat. But let's jump into the engine bay. So you've got the first bank of batteries here, and that goes off round to the other side and connects up with another couple of batteries there, and then that all goes into some rather hefty fuses and switches and isolators and a monitoring system, so we can monitor how much battery we've got left before it goes off into the boat. On this gorgeous morning, I thought I'd just update you on our food hygiene inspection. It went well. There were no major issues identified. There's a couple of bits of paperwork that we're just going to clarify. Ultimately, we were giving away too much information on our allergen information, which made it confusing. We knew that, and that was one of the things that I wanted to speak to him about, was just making sure that that's clear. I saw a great example of a totally overcomplicated allergen menu. It was colour coordinated, there was codes in there, and I couldn't even understand it. I was looking at it, I was like, this colour actually doesn't relate to anything. There's a train coming. So yeah, that was just totally, really confusing to read. Ours wasn't as confusing as that, but it was still confusing. So we didn't actually get a rating due to a technicality. Our home address, our postal address, is in Worcestershire. We applied to the Birmingham Authority because that's where we're going to be doing most of our trading. And there was a bit of confusion as to whether we should be registered with Birmingham or with Worcestershire. Another train going past. Rush hour was never a good idea to record this. So we've just got to wait for the creases to iron themselves out, and then we're going to get a hygiene rating. We have to wait for it to come in the post. I mean, the post, surely an email in this day and age would be great, but at least they're keeping the Royal Mail workers in a job. So yeah, just waiting for that. It didn't really give any signs as to what rating it would be. However, speaking to a few people, I can't see why it shouldn't be a 5-star rating. So looking forward to that and finally receiving that and putting that chapter to bed, and moving on from there. Over the weekend we had a fantastic weekend at Bourneville. 3 days we were open and 3 days we were busy. Friday I was slightly behind myself because I was catching up from the food hygiene inspection, but a Saturday and Sunday were amazing. We were busy all day, and we sold a lot of pizzas, which was absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much if you came. If not, we'll see you next time.